Winter break turned our college campus into a ghost town. Only a handful of students, including me and my two best friends, Sarah and Jake, remained. We were enjoying the eerie quiet until the first night we noticed something was off. It was almost midnight when we first saw him, a figure in a giant squirrel mascot costume, lurking by the edge of the woods near our dorm. We laughed it off, assuming it was some prank, and returned to our movie marathon. The next day, Jake found footprints in the snow outside our window, leading back towards the woods. Probably just some drunk guy messing around, he said, but his voice lacked confidence. We decided to brush it off until that evening, when we heard scratching at the door. Sarah peeked through the peephole and gasped. "It's the mascot," she whispered, her face pale. We all looked, seeing the lifeless, oversized squirrel head staring back at us. We locked the door and called campus security, but by the time they arrived, the mascot was gone. Nights blurred into sleepless vigilance. The mascot's visits became more frequent, more brazen. One night, I woke to find a note slipped under the door. "You're next." Panic set in. We decided to stick together, thinking safety in numbers would protect us. We barricaded ourselves in Jake's room, the largest with the fewest windows. But it wasn't enough. Around 3 a.m., the power went out. Our cell phones had no signal. The silence was deafening, broken only by a faint, rhythmic tapping. It was coming from inside the room. We turned to find the mascot in the corner, holding a bloodied axe. I remember Sarah's scream as Jake lunged at the figure, only to be struck down instantly. I ran, slipping through the open door, my breath visible in the frigid air. As I stumbled outside, I realized with a cold dread, there was nowhere to go. The campus was deserted, and the mascot was right behind me. Now, hiding in the shadows of the empty library, I can hear the footsteps getting closer. The mascot is coming for me, and I know I won't survive the night. Across the deserted streets, Luke and his younger sister Mia crept through the desolate city. The air was thick with an unsettling stillness, broken only by distant moans and the occasional shuffle of decaying feet. Luke gripped Mia's hand tightly, his heart pounding in his chest. They had been on the run since the outbreak began, navigating crumbling alleyways and abandoned buildings in a desperate bid to find safety. The once bustling city now lay in ruins, its inhabitants transformed into mindless, ravenous creatures. They ducked into a derelict apartment building, the walls graffiti-covered and windows shattered. Luke scanned their surroundings, listening intently for any sign of danger. Mia huddled close to him, her wide eyes reflecting the fear that gripped them both. Suddenly, a low growl echoed from the stairwell. Luke's blood ran cold as he peered into the darkness, catching a glimpse of rotting flesh and vacant eyes. The zombies had found them. With adrenaline-fueled urgency, Luke pulled Mia into a sprint, racing up the stairs as the infected stumbled after them. His lungs burned with each breath, his mind racing for an escape route. They burst through a door to the rooftop, panting and desperate. A lone helicopter hovered overhead, its searchlights sweeping the rooftops in a futile attempt to find survivors. Luke waved frantically, screaming for attention. The infected poured onto the roof behind them, their moans growing louder. Just as Luke feared they were doomed, the helicopter descended, its side door sliding open. "Jump!" a voice shouted over the roar of the rotors. Luke hesitated only a moment before grabbing Mia's hand and leaping into the unknown. The ground rushed up to meet them, and for a terrifying moment, they were airborne, the cityscape a blur of lights and shadows below. They landed hard in the helicopter, the door slamming shut behind them. Luke collapsed into a seat, Mia trembling beside him. As they rose above the city, leaving the nightmare below, Luke couldn't shake the haunting realization that they were the lucky ones, survivors in a world now overrun by the walking dead.